Hello people, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Jazini and this is Bridges. We're still talking Two-Face. My perspective was so long that I decided to put them in clips and make a playlist of them, and I think you should check them out. So, Two-Face's marriage is not yet over. Marriages don't end simply because someone said so. Marriages don't end simply because the parties involved announced that they are not in it again. Marriages can only be said to have ended when the appropriate authorities have waded in and seen that you have a case and they dissolve the marriage.
Listen to this. We can't grant you a divorce. Divorce lawyer Ebelechukwu Ero calls out Two-Face Idibia as he files for divorce. We won't grant you a one-party divorce. You can't just wake up one day and single-handedly request that your statutory marriage be put to an end. Are you in the marriage alone? Where is your wife? Both of you must prove to us that your marriage is irredeemably broken.
So the mere declaration by Two-Face to say marriage has ended is funny. It gives the vibe that's Namiho yam, Namiho knife. That's impression that's I'm all in this and everything I say stands. It never puts into consideration the woman like she's been done a favor to be in a marriage, to be in an entanglement with you. And I totally disagree. She has a place. She has to come to that point where she says, I grant you farewell. You can go. But until the woman accepts your proposal of a separation or a divorce, mind you, separation is different from divorce. So until Annie grants you your request to call it off, then you are not separated. Then you are not divorced. You might actually be in different locations, different spaces, or even the same building, and not having things together any longer, but it doesn't also mean that the marriage has ended. So marriages that went through the I do process, went through the until death do us part process, not the transactional ones we see these days. There are societies where people sign contracts of 2 years, 3 years, 5 years of a marriage. And when the terms and conditions of those contracts are expired, they are freed. That is not the original design of God for marriage. So, until the authorities that you called to say, I'm now a man, I'm now a woman, you have convinced them that they should join you in this covenant. We were not there. They were not there when you saw what you saw. They were not there during the wooing process. They were not there in the talking to. Until you convince the authorities that joined you the same way you convinced them before your matrimony to unjoin you, you go nowhere. Your partner still has all the full rights over you or with you. Until you convince those who joined you to separate you, separation is different, divorce is different. Until you convince these authorities the same way you told them you are now a man and you are now a woman, and that you can handle the issues of your lives in this entanglement before they took the pains to make you go through the requirements of this covenant and seal it, until you convince them otherwise to reverse the whole process, you are still married. For those people who will say, it's none of our business, it no concern us, it's private matter, it's husband and wife matter, you lie. We were on our own when you made it public. You saw heaven and earth, and you said, this is my heaven. And you entered that relationship, invited us to come and witness this covenant. And all of a sudden you say, it's none of our business. No, we are going to tell you that we witnessed the covenant and that you are man and woman grown enough to sit down and talk, to sit down and fix it. The same way you advise your children, the same way you advise other people to go about their problems, the same way you advise other people to go about their problems, to fix it, to take good measures, to take decisive efforts. It's the same way we will want you to do when it comes to the challenges of your marriage, until you convince us and the public and all the authorities involved that your life is in danger and the whole thing should be reversed. You told us that this is the bone of your bone, the flesh of your flesh. You were too sure. Even Adam was sure when he said, this is the bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. He may have seen that by inspiration because he was sleeping, or by knowledge because he is not saying the bone was taken out of my rib or my flesh cut out. He's simply saying, that was in languages of the Bible, languages of then, that this is my type, the bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Like, this is my kind, the flesh of my flesh, the bone of my bone, if we go by knowledge. But if we go by inspiration, he may have known that God removed certain materials from him to form the first woman who happened to be his woman. So you were too sure, just like Adam was sure. Even though you never had the inspiration like Adam. The seal. God sanctioned to seal these two human beings who are famished in a bond of continuity of a life's journey. Let me tell you, marriage is important to God because of continuity and raising godly seeds. And I'll tell you what godly seed means. When we talk about godly seeds, we are not talking about people who are following your religion. We are talking about legitimacy. Children who are born out of pure breeds of legitimacy. Pure breeds of legitimacy. Authorization for these two people to continue procreating, extending generations, and keeping God's original plan. The last time there was contention of legitimacy, the world never recovered from it. Marriage is important to God because it gives legitimacy to generations. Anything that does not follow due process, God frowns at it. Ungodliness is when you want to enjoy unmerited privileges. You want to follow the back door. That is ungodliness. You know why? Because you are shortchanging another person. Such injustice is what God frowns at. And that is why he legitimized marriage and set out some rules for its existence. So at this point, I can only tell you that Two-Face just declared an intention, just made a declaration, and hasn't got exactly what he wants. It doesn't matter how many women he follows because it's in the news that he's with another woman. And from what we know about them, the history we have about the both of them, they can wake up tomorrow and tell you that we have made up. So at this point, Two-Face just declared an intention. And for those people who are blaming the wife for staying this long, marriage is not a walk in the park. It's not a means to legitimize sexual urges. It's an institution. It's a commitment. And kudos to her to have not called it bluff. She's even lucky she's not the one that is the provocator in this case. Because whoever does carries with him the burdens of separation, the burdens of divorce. It's just like having a case in court or accusing someone of doing something. You have to prove it. So you carry with you the burden of proof. So whoever is the provocator in a divorce, in a marriage destruction, carries with him the whole burden of the whole separation. Because the other person is going to be flexing. It doesn't concern me. I'm still here. Whenever he wants to undo all the mess he's causing, he can go ahead.